Welcome back to the channel. Going to keep working on this truck behind me. Today we're going to finish up the engine, start on the brakes, and also start on the fuel system. So while waiting for parts to finish that up, I switched over to doing the brakes. Got this all tore apart, front and rear. Just kind of looking at it, and my luck with these trucks that sat for a while is you're going to go through the whole brake system anyways. So I got new calipers, new master cylinder, turned the rotors so they're pretty gunky, got new drums for the rear and everything to redo the rear. And when I was looking at this, the other side has a bad U-joint on the axle shaft, so I figured I might as well replace both axle shafts. And there's something else in here, show you part number there, but behind this hub assembly, this spindle, is a needle bearing that sits inside there that axle shaft rolls on, and also some seals. And I know that's something people don't know about or overlook. And if I had a Bronco that the needle bearings were toast and the bearing was toast, and it actually allowed mud to work its way up past the axle shaft and into the bearings. So that's something, if you're this far in, you might as well replace it. It wasn't that expensive to get this part. I mean, I think it was like $10 to $15 at the parts store per side, so it's really not that expensive. One thing about it is getting this off. You got this old style has 5 bolts, newer Dana 44s have 6, but you got the bolts that go on there, but you also need the specialty tool that goes onto a slide hammer that you screw on the threads there, and you'll pop this off. Otherwise, there's not an easy way to get it off without this tool. I've done it before I knew this tool existed, and I spent hours with a torch and a hammer on the other side and finally got it off, but this takes it off in just a second. So I'll put a part number in the description on this part, but some places, I think like AutoZone or something, will actually rent it out. So just simple slide hammer screws in here. Not exactly how I wanted it. Anyway, it's still attached to the brake mounting part, but now we can get in here, and as you can see, that seal is junk. Bearings still look good, but always good time to replace the stuff and get to that U-joint. So I got the top of the engine all buttoned up, valve cover on, ended up putting 2 push rods in that were a little bit shorter. Now everything's within spec for the valve clearance. Distributor in, got oil in the engine, carburetor's on. There's still more stuff to button up. I'm waiting on a few more parts. Need to build some fuel line. Probably won't hook up the fuel pump quite yet, because need to see if we can pump anything out of the tanks, then probably put some fuel in the tank and pump it out and see if there's any crap in there. Kind of next step is kind of some cooling stuff, and kind of go over to the radiator here, which is our next problem. So in the process of taking it out, this bracket fell off, and it's soldered on these end tanks here. And I would go and buy a new radiator, because this one looks like it's 40 years old, but no one has them in stock. They list them as available, but it's not in stock. And this one is specific to a 6-cylinder 4-speed non-AC, so it's narrower, and the core support's specific to this. I can't put a bigger one in there, so gonna try cleaning this up, get the torch out, and see if we can solder it back on there. Should just kind of go right in there and self-align, and hopefully we can make that work. Now we got that radiator installed, gonna switch over these spindles. Got them cleaned up in some gasoline, but we still need to get this bearing out of here. And a good tool for that is a rental tool that you can get for doing pilot bearings for clutches. Okay, it's not quite the right size for it, but if you screw it in there all the way, it'll catch on there. And then what I push it out of the way so you can see. What I do is kind of suspend it up in the air, kind of do a shake weight motion here, because this doesn't have a whole lot of mass to just yank it out. So if we just kind of do this, get it out. So this one we're going to use a 1.25" socket, which fits around there just really good. No, that one's this one here, 1.25" slides right down in there, so it'll be a nice even drive on that. Made a bit of progress. Got the front and rear all put back together. Start with the rear here. Got the rear brakes all done. New drums, painted those up, and also new parking brake cables. Took the shocks off the backs, waiting on new ones of those come. Got it all bled on the front. Got the wheel hub all put back together. Did the new bearing on the inside there, but reused the existing bearings. They seem pretty good, just repacked them. New seals, greased it all, did new calipers both sides, all new brake lines, which is, on this truck's kind of weird because they're all made together, so it's pretty much all new, not just hoses, but brake lines on the front, because this hose here goes over and ties into that T there, a metal line, and then there's one from the other side that's hose and a metal line all made together that comes over here. Then you have another flex hose here, which comes up and goes to your proportioning valve there. So a lot of stuff replaced in the front, which is one thing I forgot to mention on the back, is that I replaced the hard lines on here because the factory ones were pretty rusted up and I couldn't even get it out of the wheel cylinder, so I just cut them off. I went and bought new lines and bent them up. Also on the front, got new tie rods all installed, so we'll end up taking this down to an alignment shop once we get some tires. Well, actually, we'll probably get tires and everything at the alignment shop, but that's pretty much done underneath here. The front shock's off, so going to be replacing those also. Drained out the diff fluid, so we need to put new diff fluid in. I'm also going to drain out the transmission and transfer case and replace that oil. Up top here, got the radiator in, did some plumbing, got some other stuff buttoned up, waiting on more parts, waiting on water thermostat housing before we button anything up here. What else? I think got the brakes all bled, so I think my next step, I got two things left, and that's fuel system and the exhaust. So right now I'm going to work on the fuel system, and as you see, I kind of got this electric fuel pump rigged up here, hooked up to the tank, and some hose and some wires. What I'm going to do is get a can in here and a battery and see what I can pump out of the tanks, see kind of how it looks when it comes out, make sure there's actually something coming out. If there's any junk in there, I'll pump it all out, and then I'll put some new gas in there and pump it through. make sure we get some we have clean tanks, and if it's not working out, then we'll have to probably drop the tank. So there's 2 tanks in this truck. I'm not sure which one it's on right now. We'll probably have to hook a battery up to switch between them. Alright, so I'm not getting anything out, so that means we're gonna try to put some gas in the tank. Looked inside and the selector was on the front tank, so we're gonna shoot with some gas in that one first and see if we get anything up. Probably go get like a 5-gallon can, put half of it in the front and see if anything comes out. So I just took the gas cap off, and I don't know if you can see down in there, but someone has dropped part of a gas cap in there, so we got to try fishing that out. Alright, so on the rear tank right now, put some in it, a little bit. Still not as much as we hoped for. Pretty slow. Pretty slow. Alright, so we'll try to pump out as much as we can, but it's looking like we might just need to drop the tanks and see what's inside there. Not something I was looking forward to. Probably start with the saddle tank first. It might be easier. I don't know. Alright, so I got this saddle tank dropped out. A little to my surprise, it's actually a poly tank, so I won't have to replace it. It's not going to be rusted out. It's plastic. We'll just clean it out. But also found out that the reason why we weren't being able to pump out from earlier was because this filter was clogged up. Probably can't see much. You can see all that. Wow, shit, crap coming out. So that's why it wasn't pumping. So I rigged up a easily replaceable filter and something you can see on that, and able to pump this out. So what I'm going to do is, instead of dropping the rear tank, is hook back up to it and see if I can pump out of it, and see if we can get any readings on the sending unit. Get this tank pumped out, and then take it outside, hit it with the pressure washer, clean it all up, pull the sending unit and see what that looks like, and then we'll hook up to the rear tank and see if we can get that pumped out. Well, this holds a little surprise. Kind of answers the question about the sending unit. Completely rusted off. So we'll see if we can order. I think Rock Auto has these. Hopefully it's the right size and shape. Anyway, if it's close, we'll have some sort of gauge on whether we're full or empty. So I got this rear tank dropped out last night. Made another mess underneath the truck with all the dust and crap underneath there. You have something to say, Azula? Woof! Shh. Anyway, gonna open up and see what this thing looks like inside, pull out that sending unit. I don't have much optimism, as the other one was all rusted and corroded, so we'll see. There we have it. This one at least has the arm, but no float and no filter on there. But I'm sure the inside of the tank looks just as bad. So I already ordered new sending units, new filler hose, and new tanks. Well, new tank for this back one. So once those get in, we'll get everything put back in. But right now I'm gonna get this stinking tank out of here because this old gas is pretty ripe. Clean up my mess and figure out the next part to work on while we wait for other parts. So that's it for this video. Go ahead and like and subscribe, comment down below. what you think, anything you think I should do. Going to be another video probably when we work on the exhaust, the heater box, and also finish up the engine and get this thing going. So until then, talk to you guys later.